Speed. It's what business aviation is all about. Now there's a jet that can dash between Mexico City and Moscow, San Diego and Shanghai, or even Copenhagen and Kuala Lumpur at 9/10 the speed of sound.
Welcome aboard Gulfstream G650. In a few moments, we're going to take you flying with us so you can see the advanced features of Gulfstream's new 7,000-mile range flagship.
Jake Howard, G650 Chief Project Test Pilot, is in the right seat today here in Savannah. Tom Horn, Senior Experimental Test Pilot, is riding along in the jump seat as safety pilot and running the numbers for our test points. Gulfstream's PlaneView 2 has 4 large flat panel displays with standard synthetic vision on the left and right side PFDs. It also has a new and larger Rockwell Collins head-up display that we'll be using as much as possible because we can keep head up and eyes out looking for traffic. This aircraft has a basic operating weight of about 54,400 pounds loaded with options, so it can carry 7 passengers with full fuel. But we only have about 4.5 hours of fuel aboard and no passengers, so our ramp weight is just over 70,000 pounds, about 70% of maximum. Using flaps 20 degrees, our V2 takeoff decision speed is 108, rotation is 109, and the V2 takeoff safety speed is 126. Takeoff field length is 3,400 feet today. At maximum takeoff weight, the aircraft needs well under 6,000 feet for takeoff, assuming standard date conditions. G650 has much larger cockpit windows than legacy big cabin Gulfstreams, so it's much easier to see outside. Rolling out of the chocks, the brakes have a nice feel, and the nose wheel steering is very smooth. Cleared for takeoff on runway 19. Lights on, ground spoilers armed. Final lineup checks. Take a close look at my primary flight display. Synthetic vision is showing us taxiing onto runway 19. With a picture like this, it's almost impossible to use the wrong runway in low visibility conditions. Power is up. Auto throttle's engaged. Sporty acceleration with almost 34,000 pounds of thrust. 80 knots. V1. Rotate. Liftoff in just over 10 seconds from starting the takeoff roll. We've used less than 3,000 feet of pavement. Oh, this is a fingertip flying aircraft. Nicer control feel than any previous big cabin Gulfstream. With G650's new fly-by-wire flight controls, there are no mechanical links between the cockpit controls and the flight control surfaces. It's all done electronically, so Gulfstream's engineers could hone control feel to perfection. It's initially soft off-center, but the farther you move the yoke, the more control forces ramp up to prevent over-control. I think I'll hand-fly the aircraft as much as possible. Now we're leveling at 15,000 feet. I especially want to check stall behavior. G650 is the first large cabin Gulfstream that doesn't have a stick pusher to help with stall recovery. So what happens if you really try a full stall? Aircraft looks trimmed and stable. The first one will be clean. Here we go. Tom says that our 66,800 pound weight VREF clean is 156 knots. We'll stop trimming at that point. There's the stick shaker. Pulling, pulling, pulling. There, the yoke is all the way aft and we're at 129 knots, starting to sink, but there's no loss of control. Fly-by-wire eased off the elevator just enough to prevent a deep stall, from which it would be difficult to recover. Now let's try a dirty stall. We'll bug VREF at 122 knots and stop trimming there. Gear down. Flaps down. We're descending at 500 feet per minute and the aircraft is stable, trimmed for VREF. We'll level off without adding thrust and wait for the deceleration. There's stick shaker. Yoke all the way aft. 98 knots. Start of the sink and recover. Full thrust flaps 20. No wing roll off. No loss of positive speed stability. Fly-by-wire, low-speed flight envelope protection really works. No legacy big cabin Gulfstream ever had such refined stall manners. Let's head back to Savannah for pattern work. Jake is pulling up an electronic chart on his navigation display for the RNAV GPS runway 19 procedure so that we can review it together. I'll turn on the autopilot so that Jake and I can fully concentrate on briefing our plan. This is a GPS LPV, or lateral precision with vertical guidance procedure, that uses enhanced GPS to generate a virtual ILS lookalike with lateral and vertical guidance. Landing weight will be 65,500 pounds. VREF is 120. We'll bug VREF plus 5, 125 knots, as the target airspeed on final. There's the airport at 10 o'clock. We're passing in the initial approach fix. Time to turn base leg. Approach mode armed. Set 180. Flaps 10. Let's slow to 160. Flaps 20. 1 dot below glide path, gear down. Glide path intercept and full flaps. Set 125 knots. Ground spoilers armed. Final landing checks. There's plenty of low-level turbulence today because of an approaching storm. Tower has alerted us about low-level wind shear. G650 has a huge wing and it's bouncing around a bit, but control response is excellent. Final gear down check. 40 feet. Idle power. Flare and touchdown. We'll use idle reverse to slow the aircraft. A touch of the brakes and we're taxiing off in 5,000 feet. Let's make one more circuit. This one in the VFR traffic pattern. Throttles up. Auto throttles engaged. Here we go. Rotate. Positive rate, gear up. It's easy to fly VFR patterns in this aircraft because of its larger cockpit windows. You can keep the runway and other air traffic in sight. Flaps to full, slowing to 125. Over the threshold, power to idle, flare and touchdown. Let's recap this flight while we're taxiing back to the ramp. G650 feels so natural in your hands, you might not know that it has fly-by-wire flight controls. It's a pilot's airplane, well-balanced, well-behaved, and agile when needed. It's a spirited performer, able to climb directly up into the mid-40s and cruise at 9/10 the speed of sound. Its Plain View 2 cockpit is unsurpassed for situational awareness. It's the biggest, quietest, and most comfortable Gulfstream ever built. And that clearly also makes it the ultra-long-range business jet class champion.
Well, thanks for flying with us today. Look for a full technical description of the aircraft in an upcoming issue of Business and Commercial Aviation and Aviation Week in Space Technology.